If you're new to baking gluten-free, dairy-free, or vegan, don't scroll by. You're definitely going to want to check out this super simple, beginner-friendly, gluten-free, dairy-free, and vegan brownie recipe. It's so fudgy. It's so fudgy. My mother always put nuts into baked goods. You know, sometimes unnecessarily, but if you're not allergic to nuts, would highly recommend putting in some nuts in this. These are fudgy boys, and that little extra bit of crunch gives it a whole other level of adventure factor. Would highly recommend. So this is the first brownie recipe that Dolled Up Desserts ever made. Ever. The recipe has been significantly improved since then to be the brownie that you may have had the opportunity to try in store. But this is still a really, really good brownie. Especially if you're a beginner, you've never done any gluten-free baking before, and you want something reliable that is going to be a quick chocolate fix consistently every time. This guy right here. I'm here for it. This is so good. I have included the modifications to make this brownie refined sugar-free for those that prefer baked goods without white sugar, which is an innovation that was encouraged by Rachel Hofing, the co-owner of Relay Coffee. Relay welcomed our baked goods into their coffee shop pastry case because Rachel and their barista Chrissy were both gluten-free and thought that these brownies were the best they ever had. Rachel was also egg-free and sugar-free, thus Relay's brownies were always made with 100% local maple syrup, so she could eat the brownies that didn't sell. This simple gluten-free and vegan brownie recipe will expose you to the properties and behaviors of the most common vegan egg replacer, flaxseed, the behaviors of xanthan gum in a baked good, the flavor transformation of gluten-free flour from unbaked to baked, the unusual consistency of gluten-free doughs and batters, which tend to be always very thick and sticky, versus gluten-containing counterparts, which are more liquid, delicate, and neutral. It does not require a custom gluten-free flour blend. They do not require melted chocolate, which reduces your cost. It's not measured in metric grams, meaning I'm not going to force you to crack out that kitchen scale yet. No mixers required, just a spatula and some elbow grease. And the recipe is made in one bowl, unless you're like me and you chose a small bowl and had to increase the bowl size. Otherwise, less dishes overall. Let's make the OG Betty's brownie. So first things first, before you get started, you're going to want to preheat that oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 325 convection and line a 9x13, or in my case, because I totally forgot, a 9x9 pan with parchment paper. If you're doing a 9x9 pan, you're going to have really, really thick fudgy brownies. First thing you're going to do is make the flax egg. You're going to combine the milled flax seed and with water in a side bowl, and you're going to mix it up and you're going to let it stand. This is going to make a thick flaxy goop. It's kind of disgusting, and this is what's going to help hold your brownies together. Next, you're going to combine melted coconut oil, preferably refined, sugar and or maple syrup with the whisk, and in my case a spatula, in a large mixing bowl. So these aren't going to mix fully. It's totally fine, as you can see, but try to make the mixture homogeneous and not look like it's separated. Once you add in that flaxy goop and the cocoa powder, you'll see that it really does come together quite well. You're going to whisk it all to combine. Next, you're going to add in your flour blend, almond flour, xanthan gum, and baking powder. You're going to use a spatula, and hopefully you're using a much bigger bowl than I am. And if you're not, you're going to transfer to a bigger bowl. You're going to take your spatula and you're going to hydrate all of the dry ingredients until no dry pockets are present. So the batter is going to become quite solid, as you can see, and very sticky, like a glistening Play-Doh. Next, you're going to use a spatula or your hands. However, you'll see with me, it is incredibly sticky to work with. So ideally you have gloves on hand, or if you're not afraid, you can just go to town and press it down in the pan. I encourage you at this point to taste test the batter. This is to help you understand what gluten-free batters and gluten-free flours taste like before and after baking, but it also helps you test whether or not you forgot an ingredient, because that happens. It really does. So tasting it before you bake it is a good call. So once you've pressed down that batter into the pan and your hands are sufficiently covered in dough, you're going to wash those off. And then you're going to take your pan and you're going to put it in the oven for approximately 40 minutes. Now, if you're doing a 9x13 pan, you might be able to get away with a little less, like 35 minutes. But definitely if you're like me and using a 9x9 pan for that much batter, you're going to want to go for 40 minutes, maybe even 45 minutes. It really depends on your oven. However, the top should be cracking slightly. It should feel kind of hard to the touch, and it might jiggle a little in the middle, which is totally fine. But ideally, it's not like wet in general. It might might smell like it's burning, so don't be alarmed. That's just the smell of chickpea flour baking, which is disgusting. But yeah, you're gonna let it cool completely after it's done, or not, and you can cut it up while it's hot and a goopy mess and enjoy it like me here. So yummy, especially the nuts. If you like this recipe and you want to stay up to date with all Dolled Up Desserts original recipes, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that follow button, and sign up for our newsletter to get a first-hand look of all of those recipes. Oh my god. So fudgy.